Hey everybody, Steve the Amateur Historian, and I'm feeling pretty important and bougie right now because I'm going to be doing a little walkthrough of the Reed neighborhood where Reed College is. But before I get to that, remember, if you like what I do, you want to support what I do, remember to like, share, subscribe, hit up my Patreon, the link is in the description. All those things help me out. And all that said, let's get to today's video. Steve the Amateur Historian. Well, hello, you bougie old college, you. It says campus closed to the public. Logical in these circumstances. I wasn't planning on doing a walkthrough of this area, and then I just kind of ended up here. And it's nice. We're just north of Westmoreland, which is another real nice area, and then Selwood's kind of on the other side of McLaughlin, aka Old Highway 99. You gotta have a lot of billies, as me and my girlfriend say, to live in this general area. And I'm walking along Woodstock Boulevard here, which ends at 28th, just a few blocks down. And yeah, so you're starting to see some of these like outbuildings of Reed College. Reed College is a pretty sweet looking campus, and I understand a lot of people that go to college here tend to have a pretty sweet future after going there. It's starting to pop up. You're starting to see some of the cool old buildings through here. Fortunately, you know, even though it says campus closed to the public, which again I fully understand, you can see a lot of the campus from the street. We kind of circle around it. And that said, howdy, whoa, hell yeah, brother. Hey, how's it going? Steve the Amateur Historian. Just remember to introduce myself. It's just right as I was getting ready to start, Reed College stuff just kind of started popping up around me. So anyway, Steve the Amateur Historian, how you all doing today? I'm just going to do a little walkthrough of the Reed neighborhood and just be bitterly jealous of everything. I mean, it's a pretty beautiful down in this area. I can only assume a lot of snooty people live in this area, but probably a lot of great people too. That's usually how it works out. And you know, I'll take this neighborhood if all I got to do is deal with a few snooty people. I'll do that gladly. And the what is it? It wouldn't surprise me if that's close to the public too. But the rhododendron gardens, is that what it's called? Are also a little ways down here. Me and my girlfriend went there a couple years ago, got to check out the animals. It's a real cool little area. And yeah, so here's where it kind of opens up a bit, and you get to see a little bit more of the campus in the, or this is like the main entry to the campus as a whole. So you can see some of the buildings off in the distance. Reed College Elliott Circle. Yeah, it is so nice around here. How many souls do you have to sell to live in this town or this neighborhood? There's this little plaque type thing to let you know where you're at. Some of probably the more primary buildings off in the distance there. You get to go to this nice bougie school, this school that's got total like Ivy League school, like small Ivy League school elements to it. Oh, didn't see you there, partner. Oh my goodness. You guys are everywhere. They're here in droves. So actually, I just checked, and I'm actually, oddly enough, with Reed College right here. According to Google Maps, Reed College is actually not in the Reed neighborhood. The Reed neighborhood is just north to the other side. But how do you talk about the Reed neighborhood without talking about the college? Look at this campus. I noticed that these are placed on trees all around campus. Breonna Taylor, Eric Garner. Yeah, they're there. All these trees have references to somebody on them. Yeah, it's a pretty stellar campus. And you can't hate a campus that is jam-packed with squirrels everywhere you look. Yeah, and you've got the classic, you've got like the scattered student body sitting in the field in front of the school. You've got like the poetry circle over here, whatever the heck it is. But yeah, this just screams of like tiny Ivy League. That's kind of, I mean, that's kind of how it is, you know? It's pretty expensive to go to school here. You gotta have some influence if you're gonna make it happen. Trying to see these better because I passed a few back here when I first got here, and I was in the middle of my thoughts and talking about the college and trying to make sure I was going the right direction and all that. And I know I'm coming up to 28th right down here, and that'll start turning me north so I can actually go into the neighborhood. So that'll be more or less the end of the campus. I think this is still some campus stuff over here, but this is like the real flashy, bougie part of it all. So yeah, so I think I'm technically still in Westmoreland right now, which might explain why freaking everything is gorgeous around here. Westmoreland is a real beautiful spot, and the developers and the YIMBYs, as they're known, they've been in a fight for a couple years at least over the people in this area are trying to designate their neighborhood as like a historical area, and it's mostly so they keep these, like, you know, predatory developers from coming in and, you know, ruining everything like they've done in other areas. And so, you know, the attitude is always, and it's not accurate at all. I mean, it's accurate of some people, but it's not a blanket statement you can make. The attitude is, well, these people are just NIMBYs. Now, for those who don't know these terms, NIMBY is not in my backyard. YIMBY is yes in my backyard. So essentially, people who don't want, you know, their neighborhood screwed up by something, they're called NIMBYs, because the attitude is not in my backyard. Like, let's say a new prison needs to be built, and they say, you know, oh, we're going to build it in the Reed neighborhood. Well, all the people in Reed are going to be like, no, that's not fair. No, you can't build it here. We don't want to live next to a prison. It's not in my backyard. Like, I understand you need to build it, but go build it somewhere else. Make someone else suffer with the, you know, repercussions. And so, you know, I would say that's the same circumstances here for the people in Westmoreland. That, you know, they're just people that are just trying to, and some of them probably are. You're going to have a lot of, you know, in an area that this nice, you're going to have a lot of people that are just like, I'm rich and I'm important and how dare you. Go make the poor people deal with it. But this is still a fight worth fighting, because these developers are trying to destroy everything. And, you know, the attitude on the other side is, no, look at all these big apartments they're building and they're making more housing for people. And it's like, yeah, and the people that need housing can't afford to live there, so they're deemed irrelevant. This is, by the way, there's a golf course over here, and then the rhododendron gardens are like over here. Side note. So, yeah, you know, what needs to happen is simple, genuinely affordable housing needs to be made. And if it's big apartment complexes, tiny houses, whatever. Fact of the matter is, the people who are most in dire need of housing, the people that, you know, are the most stuck in poverty, they're no better off now than they were 5 years ago. And it's not because not enough housing is being made, which is what the politicians always say. Well, there's just not enough housing. No, it's because the wrong type of housing is being made. And, you know, the only housing that's being made are these really expensive, you know, lofts that are popping up all over town, like chicken pox, that cost people, you know, $1,500, $2,000 a month to live in. Or they're building these, you know, new ugly houses, or these, you know, duplexes that are rammed together, and they're charging, you know, a couple $100,000 at the very least to live in these units. And the people that need housing now can't afford that crap, and yet that is what keeps getting built. Because they're developers. They're predatory. They're about making as much profit as possible. They don't give a shit whether people here can afford to live in the places they build. Most of these developers are based out of places that aren't even around here. Like, they're building this new, like, big collection of housing at the old evangelical center I used to live by that was all closed down. They're building, like, I don't know, 45, 50 houses on that property. And the company that's, you know, got hold of the property and decided to do what they're doing, they're based out of Florida. So you think they care that they're literally ruining most of that Jennings Lodge neighborhood by doing that? You know, killing a major vibe. So many birds, like, literally, I remember going by there when they cut over 300 trees down. And when they cut those trees down, all these birds were just circling in the sky, like, and it looked like they were in, like, a genuine panic. And it was because their whole, like, habitat had been destroyed. It's like they don't care. Anyway, there's my rant. So, while what I talked about for the last couple of minutes doesn't really apply to Westmoreland, because people in Westmoreland aren't, you know, struggling for survival right now. What I'm getting at is I understand their fight. They're trying to preserve it. They're trying to fight against this really troubling, really bothers me. And I'm not a major capitalist or anything. I don't think everybody should have, not every American should have, 5,000 acres of land to their disposal. But I'm very bothered by this developing attitude with people that, like, if you want to have a front yard and a backyard, doesn't even have to be that big, but if you want those things, you're like some land-stealing fascist. And there's this attitude that, like, everybody who owns property needs to have it taken away. And we need to have just these big apartments built all over the place, because, of course, the housing issue in Portland is so bad that we need to build, like, billions of apartments. Every house needs to be torn down so that apartments can be replacing them, and we can have, a city that looks generally like Chernobyl or some crap. And it's absolutely insane. And it really bothers me that there's this attitude that people actually want that. And they're completely ignoring the real problem, which is, again, the issue is not that there's not enough housing. There's tens of thousands of units in these new developments that have popped up that are empty and continue to sit empty because people here cannot afford to live in them. And yet, people will sit here and prattle on about how there's not enough housing. It's like, no, you just keep building the wrong housing. And every politician that says that crap about how there's not enough housing, I just assume that they're in the pockets of developers. Because nobody could be that dumb. That's why, I don't support Ted Wheeler for mayor. Because he's been in the pocket of developers, God, who knows how far back. And even in Sarah Inerone's ads, she says, when she does let's not vote for Mayor Sorry, which is the nickname that they're using to reference Ted Wheeler because he's apologizing all the time because he never gets anything done, which, that's a fair criticism of him. But, she says, he's sorry that, we allowed the police to do what they did to the protesters. And yeah, that's messed up. But then the next thing she says in the ad, and of course I've seen the ad like 5 billion times, so I have it memorized. Next thing she says in the ad is, he's sorry that he didn't build enough housing. And I'm like, oh my God, Sarah, you're one of them too? Building enough housing is not the damn problem. Problem is people can't afford the housing that's being built. Anyway, that's it. That's enough rambling. I'm going north. I'm getting into more of the Reed neighborhood. I guess that was a good place to ramble a little bit while I was getting past the college, out of Westmoreland into the Reed neighborhood. I could just get that off my chest. It's just, I find myself thinking about that every day. It's just really annoying. Oh, Reed College apartments. This college literally has its own, like, big apartment complexes. Which even, like, when I went to University of Portland, they had their big dorm buildings, but they didn't have, like, an apartment complex like this. There's apartments way up in there. Nice That was the one thing, that was the one part of college I never was able to experience, because my dad's a cheap bastard, was actually being able to live on campus while I went to University of Portland. I really wanted that. I wanted the full college experience. Busted my ass to get it. I managed to get myself accepted into, you know, a private college, despite the fact that at the time I'd been I hadn't taken a college class in like 2 years. And I still was willingly accepted into University of Portland. And all my dad had to do, Mr. Oh, I promise to put you through college when we sell this family property and I have all this money. And then I asked for a couple $1,000 after I literally got $30,000 in financial aid and got accepted to a private school after not being in school forever. After pulling that off, and he wouldn't even help me out. I'm sure I've talked about that ad nauseum, because that was kind of the catalyst that ultimately fractured our relationship. I mean, there was years of stuff building up behind it, but that was the final catalyst where we had a fight about it. He left to go do something. I left, and I never went home. And that was 11 and a half years ago. Hell yeah, brother. Yeah, so the Reed neighborhood is actually really small. It pretty much runs from the railroad lines, which are just a couple blocks back that way, to Cesar Chavez Boulevard, which is only like 11 blocks this way. And it runs primarily between Steele, which is this street I'm on now, and then just like a couple blocks north. It's literally like a 15 block going east and west by like 7-8 block going north and south neighborhood. This mask is a nightmare. But yeah, the campus, why am I even bothering? Everybody that was around me is gone. But yeah, even after walking a few blocks north, like this is still all Reed College property. You can see all the signs around saying it's closed to the public. Oh, you can actually see a little bit more of the college on the backside here, which I didn't know. I've never gone up and down Steele before, but yeah, down there the road kind of ends, and the big railroad yards that go into the Brooklyn neighborhood all kind of run through there, and that's kind of where the neighborhood ends. So this is I gave you the view from the south side of the college, and this is the, I guess, slightly more open view from the north side looking south. So yeah, you can see, I don't know, maybe these are places where classes are. These look more like living quarters through here. And then there's this building off in the distance. Doesn't look quite as old as the buildings towards the front. Those are probably all on the other side of this stuff. But yeah, look at all this. This is leashed pets, so actually I guess people probably walk their pets through here every so often. But yeah, look at all this extra land they have. I mean, being a school as prestigious as this, I can only assume ultimately over time that they're going to fill in at least some of this land with new buildings, new this or that. I still find it interesting that, like, I'm pretty much on the border of the Reed neighborhood, but the Reed neighborhood doesn't start till you get across the street here. But Reed College is over here. You'd think they would, I mean, you know, obviously, as I was talking about earlier, Westmoreland is very particular about their little piece of the world. So I could see, you know, maybe at some point, why don't we just add Reed College to part of the Reed neighborhood? And Westmoreland's like, bitch, what you say? So yeah, I mean, not too much to see. There's going to be buildings up there. It looks like there's more like there's more like sports stuff. I can see like soccer nets, running track. Oh yeah, I guess there's 2 field goal posts, but they have like the old school field goal posts, like what, you know, poor high schools have. Like, I remember my freshman year of high school, when it's like the H shape, the field goal posts, that's how you know you're a poor high school. Because while I was in high school, they kind of fixed things up there, and we finally got one of the more contemporary field goal posts with just the one bar coming up, and then, you know, the posts. So this is like all apartments, pretty much. I wonder how much of the Reed area actually. These apartments are kind of like bleh. Like, they're not that great, but they're probably really freaking expensive. I mean, considering what they... I mean, look at this. This is a dud. Yeah, so God, these Garden Park apartments are huge. They stretch like this whole, like, they stretch like 3 city blocks. But yeah, it's interesting. This is just all apartments. But like, hey, what are you doing, squirrel? It's like he heard me, he jumped out of the brush. Oh man, this ride's been here a while. Yeah, and then this is all Wimbledon apartments. Yeah, it's a lot of very big complexes. Ooh. Hello, fella. Ooh, you let me get close to you. Are you like a domestic squirrel? Hello? He's like, that's close enough, buddy. Yeah, all the years, because Reed ends just a couple blocks north of here, up at Holgate, which of course I used to go up and down Holgate all the time going to work. I never realized all those times going up and down Holgate that literally just a couple blocks south is Reed College. I didn't realize I was really that close. Just goes to show how much of a dum-dum I used to be about the make out of Portland. I mean, honestly, really till about 2017, I really, you know, I kind of learned about the downtown area, but I really didn't know much about Portland's makeup and, you know, everything that was outside of downtown and pretty much the small area where I worked and the small area where my girlfriend lived. Dead end, huh? Wow, that really is a dead end. That doesn't go anywhere. So I'm on Schiller. Just making it up here a little bit. We're actually starting to see some homes pop out. See, I was starting to wonder, like, is this whole area just gonna be like big apartments? But no, it's amazing, like the vibe. I literally just turn on Schiller, and like the whole vibe of where I am feels completely different than like 2 minutes ago. You know, totally feel a different vibe from Westmoreland. Oh, old cat tree remains. You don't say. Okay, so that goes back the way I was, and that there's a dead end, so keep going east. Oh man, even in the Reed neighborhood, the streets are trashed. A lot of, oh Lord, tell me it isn't so. There's actually some Trump paraphernalia in this area. Wow, I bet you're real popular on the block. Surrounded by your Democratic supporters. Shemia, I think that's how you pronounce her name. I definitely voted for her. I voted for Jeff Merkley, who's okay, and tragically probably one of the best senators in the nation, when he's only okay. And, of course, I voted begrudgingly for Joe Biden. Very begrudgingly. That looks interesting. I don't really want to go back that way. That was kind of bland. I'm gonna walk past this dickhead's house. Oh yeah, wow, you see what that is? That is a little like wind sock thing that's been made out of the American flag. It's called desecrating the American flag. It's funny how many Trump supporters, how many, not just Trump supporters, but like hardcore Republicans, alt-right people, desecrate the American flag in numerous ways. wear it as a t-shirt, all sorts of stuff, and then talk about patriotism and salute and standing for the flag and all that stuff. Real idiot ass hypocrisy. Oh man, this looks like a dead end, but it's not. I don't think. Just a wow. That is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. That's awesome. It's one of these creepy, tiny back streets or apartments. Okay, that's a dead end. Okay. So there's like a path through there. At least I think it's a path, but I don't know. Okay, good. This gets me to another street. Ugh, excuse me. I just put my mask back on briefly. There was a mom with her daughter down there, and I don't know if I've ever seen a little kid so... Hello, squirrel. I don't know if I've ever seen a little kid so excited about stomping in a big mud puddle. I never got into that as a kid. I know that's kind of like that's the thing that the little kids love to do. Stomp in a mud puddle as much as they can. Get as much muddy, gross water on them as they can. I was never really into that. Which is interesting. Oh my god. These people, that's the third Chloe Eudaly, apparently is how you pronounce her name. I've always called her Eudaly because I tend to screw up names a lot when I first hear them. Oh, it's telling me where to go. And apparently I guess I have to walk this way the rest of the way. I am not going to get home in good timing if I have to. Screw it. Don't tell me how to live my life. Ah, Kenilworth Park. So I'm up to Holgate now. I didn't realize I was that close to Holgate, but I should have known because there's more apartments. Yeah. That's that house back there. They had a Chloe Eudaly. I guess it's Eudaly is how you pronounce her name. At least I saw a video where someone addressed her as that. Counselor Eudaly. I called her Eudaly. Another rare U.S. Postal Service box. Unite and resist. Damn right, cuz. Yeah. I did some more looking into Chloe Eudaly because when I vlogged a couple days ago, I saw a sign. I saw like 2 signs in relation to her that kind of got my wheels a spinning. And yeah, she has a massive inferiority complex that makes her act like she's superior. She is very confrontational with people. Anybody who calls her perspectives into question, she, goes off the handle. I've seen videos of her, and oh my god, I didn't realize it was possible for a human being to have just so much condescending nature to the tone of their voice. Anyway, this is, I just want to stop by Kenilworth Park briefly because a lot of screenwriting I've done has been in this park. I've probably sat at like every single one of these benches at least once to write something, especially if it was like September or October and starting to get kind of colder. I probably wouldn't sit at these benches because there'd be a lot less light getting through. So I always tried to sit at the bench that had a little bit of light hitting it. But nowadays, when I see one of these benches, I'm just like, oh, fond memories. Maybe I should have a seat. No, COVID. No. Oh, God. Oh, no. Could it be that COVID is all around me? Oh, God. Oh, no. Never noticed this. Is this... I know the park goes down a little bit more that way. I've never really ventured over there. I probably knew this was here. It's one of these little, during the nicer months and when there isn't a pandemic going on, the little fountain and people run around and cool off during these months. So I guess that's the part I'm used to is up there, and then there's a small park over here. There's a little path through here. Really don't know where this all comes out at. This is the part of the park I haven't really seen. It's just kind of a dip in the field. So, I'm cool with that. A little bit of a walk around the park. to kind of conclude matters, it's real pretty through here. This is kind of it's a really small park. During the warmer months, there's a lot more homeless people kind of loitering around, so I can see why people don't really love this park. And the restroom is almost like hidden. I didn't know there was one here for the longest time because it's down on the other side of the hill, and it's a pretty atrocious restroom. Like, if I had to pee horribly right now, I would not. I'd wet myself before I'd go in there right now, considering recent events, pandemic issues. All right, and that is it for my walk through. Again, the Reed neighborhood is very tiny. I mostly did it because I knew we were gonna pass through the college, and I figured, oh, show off Reed College. But I also gotta walk through, get some of the vibes of the area. Nothing too crazy, just, a walk through another neighborhood in the area. And there's like, a couple more blocks over here, like 3 or 4 more blocks. They probably don't look much different than what I already showed you. And I'm nowhere near an e-scooter, and I'm near like 34th and Holgate, which means I'm about 90 blocks from home. So I ain't making it home just on these 2 feet. So I need to start heading north from here. But thank you so much for watching. As always, I love ya. Thanks for your support. Remember, as always, to like, share, subscribe. Hit up my Patreon. Links in the description. Also, link to my Instagram is in the description below. Until next time, look at that sun. This has been Steve, the Amateur Historian.